Buona giornata a tutti e benvenuti su Tastemaker. Mi chiamo Harrison Richlin, questo è dove prepariamo piatti ispirati a film. If you hadn't guessed by now, today we're going Italian. More than just being where my favorite cuisine comes from, Italy is home to some of the best cinema in the history of the medium, and specifically one of the true originals of the form, Federico Fellini. So deep is his legacy that the term Fellini-esque has become synonymous with the surreal and often the obscene. This perception of Fellini as somehow being lowbrow and perhaps even a little toxic, in my opinion, misses the point of his art entirely, and more importantly, the artifice he tries to draw out of the human experience. In Fellini's world, we are nothing more than the stories we build in our minds, with memory, nostalgia, and even values existing as a manufacturing rather than pure reality. Within Fellini's body of work, nowhere is this concept more drawn out than in his look back at his own childhood, the Academy Award-winning Amarcord. Set in a seaside village in the northern Italian city of Rimini, where Fellini himself grew up, Amarcord translates to "I remember" in the Romagnol dialect, and the film itself serves as a collection of remembrances from the director's youth. Despite this autobiographical context, Fellini goes out of his way to exaggerate the entire experience, even having characters break the fourth wall to reinforce the notion that what's being portrayed is just a story spun for the audience's pleasure.
Che hanno cantato questa terra e i suoi innumerevoli figli che hanno onorato con segni d'eternità l'arte, la scienza, la religione, la politica. Ma chi sei? Hai tanto lo spiritoso e non hai il coraggio di mostrarti.
If any authenticity is to be derived from this recollection, it's in the universal compulsion to view childhood through rose-colored glasses, thereby creating a kind of eternal adolescence across the rest of our lives.
E Bade mi ba, il babbo del mio babbo, lo chiamavano Carnazza. Le porta 107 anni e ancora, oh!
This is reflected in Amarcord's adult characters, each of whom seem pressed for some kind of authority to solve their problems, whether it be fascism, the church, or even the institution of marriage. Now, I'm not saying this dish we're about to prep is going to solve all of your problems, but it certainly won't add to them. At least I don't think it will. Apologies if it does. So the meal we're cooking up is inspired by Amarcord's seaside setting, as well as the bright light surrounding youth that tends to drown out some of its darker, more unsettling features. Our Branzino Amarcord will be citrus forward with lots of lemon and orange, as well as some fennel and garlic to really make it pop as much as this film does. It'll be accompanied by a Circus Caponata made up of eggplant, tomato, peppers, onion, and olives. I'm gonna be honest and say I've never cooked Branzino, never even ordered it at an Italian restaurant, but I'm always tempted to. So for a change, I'm gonna practice what I preach and try something new. Step one in this process is scaling and cleaning out your fish, which you can do yourself or just ask your fishmonger to do like I've done. I've named this one here Tita after the main character in Amarcord, and I totally have not formed a connection to it. I feel really good about cooking him up and eating him. Before we get to that though, we're gonna start cutting the veg for our Circus Caponata. For those who don't know, Fellini was big into the circus. Kind of informed his entire aesthetic. Not sure if that just confirms his freak status, or if the circus was just truly the in the 1920s and 30s. Like, seeing an elephant balance a ball on their nose was his Eras tour, I guess. Before we start cooking all this, we are going to pop some pine nuts in the oven for a quick 3-minute toast, and also salt the cubed eggplant. They need to sit for at least 30 minutes to draw out some bitterness. So while that's going on, let's try and draw out a few lessons from Amarcord as well. Even though Tita might be considered the film's central figure, Amarcord is really about the characters that revolve around this impressionable teenager and influence his outlook on the world. There's his bickering mother and father, his immature grandfather, the dull educators he mostly ignores, the mesmerizing and well-proportioned women around town who grip his attention, and the various vagabonds and know-it-alls whose supposed insight is often undercut by the ridiculousness of their claims.
Ma io a tutta questa storia ci credo poco e non credo neanche a tutto quello che racconta Bishane. Lui magari è un bugiardo nato e ne inventa una dopo l'altra.
What Fellini aims to capture here is not so much a coming of age as it is a commentary on the idea of growing up at all. Is maturity really achievable in an environment where even the adults can't seem to break free from their childish instincts? Fellini emphasizes this through the use of bold technicolor, distinct costuming, and memorable hair and makeup choices, depicting his memories in an almost cartoon fashion.
That's why we want this dish to have a lot of color to it, with slices of orange,
lemon, garlic, and fennel.
Make sure you save the fronds from this for garnishing.
Once its scales are removed and guts are all scooped, we're going to rinse and pat dry, then do some diagonal scores across Tita's skin. Next, season generously with salt and pepper inside and out, then fill the inside with garlic, fennel, and our citrus, as well as some rosemary and thyme. And if you want to give it a really distinct flavor, you can add some crushed fennel seeds as well. Place it on a large baking sheet lined with parchment paper, add a few more lemon and orange slices, some olive oil, and dry white wine, then throw it in an oven that's heated to 425 degrees Fahrenheit for about 18 minutes. As all those flavors come together during our cook, I also want to talk a little bit about all the flavor that's inside this movie. A lot of times we just want films to take us away or distract us, and while much of Amarcord's humor comes from its desire to interact and play with the audience, what I'm really captured by with this film is its depth and how much meaning can be found beneath its exaggeration. With all his silliness and gross-out humor, it's easy to paint Fellini as disgusting, but in depicting his childhood in this way, what he's really exploring is a community in decay. Set during the early 1930s, the film satirically captures fascism's rising hold on common Italians of all kinds, Tita's father being one of the rare exceptions.
Perché io secondo te avrei paura di quei 4 pidocchiacci neri lì?
Unfortunately, after staging a protest during a fascist celebration, he's found out and brought in, not for questioning, but immediate punishment. During this period, one of the fascists' preferred methods of subjugation was force-feeding castor oil, which shamed their dissenters by making them soil themselves.
Babbo! Maletto! Ostia che puzza, babbo!
To choose such a punishment again points to an immaturity throughout the culture that Fellini aims to expose in the film, and acknowledges a truth that often only surrealism can draw out. Quick question, were you grossed out by me simultaneously cooking and discussing some guy himself? Please respond in the comments. Before you do though, in a high-sided pan or Dutch oven, fry up the eggplant in some olive oil, then place in a heat-proof bowl nearby. Next, add the onion and celery, followed by the peppers. Once this is all tender, pour in your tomatoes, capers, olives, raisins, and sugar, then simmer until it's got a nice saucy gleam. Finally, stir in the eggplant and toasted pine nuts, plus a little vinegar. Make sure to taste and adjust with salt and pepper as needed. Shifting back to the film, another important context in understanding Amarcord is that when it was released during the early 1970s, Italy was seeing a resurgence in fascist thought. In returning audiences to the belief system's supposed heyday, Fellini reminds us that Il Duce, Benito Mussolini, and his merry band of sycophants were nothing more than smoke and fog, and the environment they encouraged was one of deep ignorance and ultimately societal breakdown. Consider Tita and his friends, who rather than spend their formative years drawn towards education or work, mostly dedicate their time to screwing around, daydreaming, and objectifying women. Even a supposedly more grown-up character like the town hairdresser, Gradisca, has attached herself to a fascist ideology not out of any commitment to its true aims, but the belief that those aims will somehow lead to her own salvation. In a mirror to how Italy soaked up the fascist rhetoric of Mussolini and others, we're also going to be making a crusty Italian bread for dipping. Use a combo of 00 and bread flour, olive oil, sea salt, warm water, and active dry yeast, and this needs 2 to 3 hours to rise, so make it ahead of the rest of the meal. When you're ready to cook, score the top and place it on a pizza stone or in a Dutch oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit with a bowl of water on the lower rack for steaming. Fellini draws out the insanity of the fascist mindset in one of the more eclectic sequences of the film, in which Tita and his family visit with an institutionalized uncle. It's suggested that this character may actually be sharper than he appears, and that his real mental incapacity is actually an unwillingness to conform.
Devi 78. Sì, non ho mica nessuna difficoltà ad ammettere, la verità. Anche adesso lo è.
Later on, however, we see Tita's uncle take control in a way that suggests he may have finally folded. Refusing to climb down from a tree and shouting his aimless desires for female companionship, this beaten man would seem to be making a plea for his own sanity. After all, is this not the way most in society function? Thinking of themselves as above everyone else and only considering their own satisfaction?
Che ci volete fare? Certi giorni è normale, certi no, come tutti noi del resto.
Of course, to those on the ground, this behavior appears crazy, but as with the rest of Amarcord, look a little deeper and a different understanding will appear. This is a big reason why I picked this dish to honor Amarcord. Sure, it's bright, vibrant, the right amount of quirky, but when you really cut to the heart of it, it's still just a dead fish. In a lot of ways, that's what Tita's community has become, with the film's ending hinting at more rot still yet to be endured, and those unable to stand the stench, including Tita, choosing to leave. This mirrors Fellini's own departure from Rimini, as he too felt called to head out for bigger and brighter stories in the major metropolis of Rome. And though it's been said you can't go home again, our Branzino Amarcord and Circus Caponata aims to remind you that childhood will always be the fun, colorful, dead fish we may physically leave behind, but still carry around the rest of our lives. Choosing to embrace that, though, as Fellini did, might serve to remind us that rarely is going backwards the way to move ahead, and those trying to convince you it is might just be as full of it as this Branzino.
Vi saluto, andate a casa, vi saluto. Vi saluta. 4 minestre, 2 polli, 3 metri di salsiccia e una candela. Ho mangiato.